As the Thai Reinsurance company, the country's largest reinsurer, has set up a new team of surveyors to reassess the damage caused by last year's massive floods due to concerns on claims which have been higher than the amounts allowed in insurance contracts. Surachai Siriwanlop, the president of the Thai Re, said the company is responsible for about 5% of the total compensation, which would have to be paid to factories damaged by the unprecedented inundation. He said the firm's potential liability is estimated to be 8.7 billion baht if all claims for compensation are reassessed, rather than about 12 billion baht, which would be the case if based on recent claims approved by Japanese insurance companies for their clients in Thailand. According to Thai Re, Japanese insurers tend to be favorable on claims made by Japanese-owned factories in Thailand, so the amounts of claims are higher than estimated. However, this has caused problems for other reinsurance companies around the world, including the Thai Re, which have reinsurance contracts. General insurance firms usually do not take up all the risk, but will reinsure most of the contracts with other firms around the world. As a result, Surachai said reinsurance firms, including Thai Re, have to protect their interests to avoid paying compensation beyond the amounts allowed in the original insurance contracts. Overall, it is estimated the damage is 450 billion baht, since nearly 1,000 factories, mostly Japanese-owned, in Ayutthaya and Pathum Thani provinces were severely hit.
Well, those are definitely alarming figures, but I would not think that it's as alarming as yesterday's event in the parliament, Kunwina. However, the Thai stock market index has surged above the 1,200 mark on strong foreign buying in spite of the growing political turmoil in the country. The SET index rose 1.6% to 1,207.29 points yesterday on heavy volume of 33 billion baht. The foreign institutional investors were net buyers of Thai stocks at 2.47 billion, while the Thai retail investors were set sellers of 2.23 billion baht. As of today, the SET index is hovering at around 1,200 points. The Thai parliament yesterday went through a fierce squabbling between the opposition Democrat and the Pheu Thai-led faction over the controversial reconciliation report. In the end, the parliament voted to start deliberation of the reconciliation report, which calls for broad amnesty to be granted to those involved in the political conflict since the military coup in 2006. Another political time bomb is the government's attempt to amend the 2007 constitution passed by the post-coup government. Also, a big issue that is likely to increasingly feature in media reports is the return of the 111 senior politicians banned from politics 5 years ago. This is likely to lead to a mid-year cabinet reshuffle. Overall, JP Morgan, in its report issued yesterday, does not see material risk to the overall political equilibrium as it sees opportunities to further accumulate Thai equities. JP Morgan recommends investors to buy on dips or when stock prices weaken, since the Thai market still holds strong market fundamentals. Thai-listed companies' return on equities is improving with good operating momentum that should extend to the second half of 2012, JP Morgan has said. Well, Kunwina, for today, the SET is still hovering above the 1,200 point right now.
That's right.
Latest I checked, it was 1,203.83. The change was minus 3.46%.
Now, moving to our regional news, the Nuclear Security Summit in Seoul just ended yesterday, as the world leaders reported substantive progress in their efforts to prevent nuclear terrorism. Among the leaders was Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. She said that although Thailand is in a nuclear-free zone, it was necessary for the kingdom to share information and create better understanding on the issue for the sake of national security and to ensure public safety in case of possible nuclear proliferation in the region. Multilateral cooperation will ensure both foreign investors and visitors regarding Thailand's security measures and anti-nuclear weapons standards, said Yingluck, who is scheduled to return to Bangkok early today. Concluding the final session of the two-day Nuclear Security Summit in Seoul, leaders adopted the Seoul Communique, which encourages nations to minimize the use of weapons-grade uranium by the end of next year. The 13-point Seoul Communique set out a number of general pledges in which nations voluntarily agreed to bolster protection of loose nuclear materials. The Seoul Summit was a follow-up to the first summit hosted by Obama in Washington in 2010, when leaders focused on strengthening the security of fissile material and securing against nuclear terrorism. Leaders from 53 nations and 4 international organizations, including U.S. President Barack Obama and Chinese President Hu Jintao, attended the summit, which aims to end the threat of nuclear terrorism. The third summit is set for the Netherlands in 2014. The potential threat of nuclear terrorism was highlighted by the Fukushima disaster because it showcased the extent of potential damage if terrorists were to sabotage key systems of a nuclear power plant, such as a power supply or cooling system.
Moving to another regional topic here, the International Monetary Fund confirmed yesterday that the Thai economy is set to stage a sharp recovery from last year's devastating floods, with growth of 5.5% this year and 7.5% next year, thanks to reconstruction and fiscal stimulus. Thailand's trend line will be steeper than that of ASEAN as a whole, which is forecast by the IMF to head up 5% this year and 5.5% in 2013. Naoyuki Shinohara, Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, said the Thai economy had proved resilient and would see strong domestic investment and consumption in the coming years. Fiscal stimulus helps support domestic demand in the face of volatility in the external environment, which could continue in the medium term, he said, during a lecture on the global and regional economic outlooks and the role of integration in Asia. The outlook for the Asian economy has brightened, but growth risks from the European debt crisis persist. Asia's trade and financial exposure to downside risk in the global economic uncertainty is high. According to IMF data, Asian countries sent value-added exports to the fragile U.S. economy and financially troubled Europe, worth from 5% to nearly 25% of the gross domestic product in 2010. Foreign holdings range from 10% of total outstanding local currency government bonds in Thailand to nearly 35% in Indonesia in the fourth quarter of last year. The European debt crisis could cause volatility in financial markets, which moves on news, Shinohara said. The best way to cope with the volatility in this region is to manage macroeconomic policy appropriately. He said that there's also upside risk for growth. Surging capital flows in Asia could strengthen as risk aversion disappears. High oil prices will also add to inflationary pressure. As trade within Asia has been fueled by vertical integration centered in China, ASEAN countries could gain benefits through rebalancing in Asia's largest country to boost its domestic consumption. China's consumption is still low, averaging nearly 40% of GDP from 2004 towards 2008, while in the United States, consumption amounted to about 70% of GDP. In Thailand, it is more than 50%. Trade within Asia has been increasing, accounting for 55% of total Asian merchandise exports in 2011, compared with 49% in the year 2000, according to IMF data. Shinohara said greater regional integration could bolster Asian economic rebalancing and make the region more resilient to external shocks.
Now let's take a look at Thailand's telecommunication industry as True Group says it will continue to invest in its third-generation cellular network in partnership with CAT Telecom, unfazed by the findings of an Information and Communication Technology Ministry committee on irregularities in the partnership deals. The company feels that it is a victim of politics. True Chief Executive Officer Supachai Jirawanont said it welcomed the examination and criticism of the deals. He feels that True is a victim of political scrutiny between the two political poles. He affirmed that True Group would not revise its plan to spend 40 billion baht this year on expansion of the 3G high-speed packet access network under the arrangements with state agency CAT. He said True would stand firm about the propriety of its business operation and in respect of the legality and benefit that could accrue to CAT and the Thai people in offering the 3G service. Currently, True's subsidiary Real Move, which provides the 3G service under the CAT True deals, has about 1 million subscribers. It targets 4 million users this year. True's share price closed at 3.60 baht yesterday, down 1.10%. ICT Minister Anudit Nakhon-thap said he would announce tomorrow to which state agencies he would forward the committee's conclusion to be further investigated and what CAT should do to remedy the situation. The ministry is expected to send the conclusion to the National Anti-Corruption Commission and will ask the CAT board to investigate the case in line with the committee's conclusions. Anudit denied that the committee's conclusions were politically motivated. Former ICT Minister Jutti Grailerk of the Democrat Party questioned whether the ICT committee's conclusion was meant to take revenge for ShinCorp, which is founded by the Shinawat family. AIS was originally obliged to share prepaid call revenue with TOT on an incremental basis, but in 2001, TOT amended the rate to a flat 20% per month throughout the remaining term of AIS concession, which will end in 2015. One apparent irregularity reported by the ICT Probe Committee is alleged political interference by the previous government to have CAT buy the cellular network in 25 provinces from Hong Kong's Hutchison Telecom at a price not exceeding 4 billion baht, though the cabinet of the day had approved a budget of 7.5 billion baht. As a result, CAT failed to conclude the network acquisition with Hutchison, paving the way for True to acquire the network and develop 3G service with CAT. Jutti questioned why the ICT Probe Committee did not mention that the lower price was in line with the advice of the Finance Ministry that the appropriate figure was 3.7 billion baht. Jutti said he had proceeded with the case transparently.
Well, a lot of details that we have to catch up to on many issues, Khun Weena. However, there's another interesting event happening here. The 33rd Bangkok International Motor Show kicked off today at Impact Arena Center, Muang Thong Thani, under the scheme of creative automobile technology. Organized by the Grand Prix International Co., the event features more than 10 new vehicles models from automakers, including the increasingly popular energy-saving vehicles or eco-cars from Mitsubishi Mirage, Suzuki Swift, new Toyota Camry, Toyota Prius, Hyundai, and Honda Civic. And this motor show will run up until April the 8th.